The Ghost in the Mirror is a gripping tale from the Louis Barnevelt series, originally created by John Bellairs and later completed by Brad Strickland. This story masterfully weaves elements of mystery, fantasy, and historical fiction, making it a favorite for readers and listeners alike. The story begins in the quaint town of New Zebedee, Michigan, in the early 1950s. Rose Rita Pottinger, a spirited and curious 14-year-old girl, is struggling to find her place in a world that expects her to conform to traditional gender roles. She dreams of adventures beyond the ordinary and finds solace in the company of her best friend, Louis Barnevelt. However, Louis is often preoccupied with his own escapades, leaving Rose Rita feeling somewhat sidelined and yearning for an adventure of her own. This sets the stage for her journey with Mrs. Florence Zimmermann, a kind and intelligent woman with a rich history in magic. Mrs. Zimmermann's once formidable magical abilities have mysteriously faded, and this loss leaves her feeling vulnerable and incomplete. When Mrs. Zimmermann learns that her former mentor, Granny Weatherby, may hold the key to restoring her powers, she decides to visit the old home of her mentor in Pennsylvania. Recognizing Rose Rita's thirst for adventure and companionship, Mrs. Zimmermann invites her along, promising an exciting journey. As the pair embarks on their road trip, an air of mystery begins to build. The Pennsylvania countryside, with its dense forests and winding roads, seems to carry an unspoken tension. One fateful evening, their journey takes a strange and unexpected turn. Driving through a narrow, shadowy tunnel, they are suddenly enveloped in an otherworldly fog. When they emerge on the other side, the familiar modern landscape has vanished, replaced by a snow-covered wilderness that feels both eerie and ancient. They gradually realize they have been transported back in time to the year 1828. The harsh winter landscape is unforgiving, and they quickly grasp the gravity of their situation. Stranded in this unfamiliar era, Rose Rita and Mrs. Zimmermann encounter the Weiss family, a hardworking Pennsylvania Dutch household who are kind but clearly burdened by fear. The family reveals that their lives have been overshadowed by a sinister figure, Adolphus Stoltzfuss, a local sorcerer with a reputation for cruelty and dark magic. Stoltzfuss is rumored to have cursed the family, and his presence is said to linger in the form of a ghostly apparition tied to an antique mirror. This cursed mirror has become a source of terror, as it is said to hold the restless spirits of Stoltzfuss's victims. Mrs. Zimmermann, though stripped of her magical powers, feels a deep responsibility to help the Weiss family and put an end to Stoltzfuss's malevolent influence. The investigation into Stoltzfuss's dark legacy begins with deciphering cryptic messages and symbols hidden in the family's old Bible. These messages hint at a deeper mystery involving a hidden chest of Revolutionary War gold, an artifact tied to Stoltzfuss's power. The clues lead Rose Rita and Mrs. Zimmermann on a series of perilous adventures, including venturing into the treacherous woods and exploring the creaking, snowbound attic of the Weiss home. Each discovery brings them closer to understanding the sorcerer's intentions, but it also exposes them to greater dangers. On one particularly chilling night, Rose Rita hears faint whispers emanating from the cursed mirror. Drawn to its cold, reflective surface, she is confronted with fleeting visions of past tragedies and feels the icy grip of an unseen force. Mrs. Zimmermann, ever vigilant, intervenes just in time, using her vast knowledge of arcane lore to protect Rose Rita from the mirror's dark power. Their quest grows increasingly complex as they uncover the truth about Stoltzfuss's connection to the gold. It becomes clear that the sorcerer's power is not merely derived from the mirror, but is also tied to the hidden treasure. Guided by cryptic riddles and the fragmented memories of the Weiss family, Rose Rita and Mrs. Zimmermann brave a series of escalating challenges. They navigate snowstorms, collapsing ice bridges, and the eerie presence of Stoltzfuss's spectral minions, all while grappling with the limitations of Mrs. Zimmermann's diminished magical abilities. During one critical moment, the duo discovers a crystal ball hidden within Granny Weatherby's belongings. This artifact, imbued with potent magical energy, holds the potential to restore Mrs. Zimmermann's powers. However, the crystal ball is not without its risks. Mrs. Zimmermann must wield it with great care, as its power could easily overwhelm her if misused. The discovery of the crystal ball marks a turning point in their journey. With her magic partially restored, Mrs. Zimmermann gains the strength needed to confront Stoltzfuss and protect the Weiss family. The story builds to a thrilling climax on a moonlit winter night. Stoltzfuss's ghostly form emerges from the cursed mirror, his presence more menacing than ever. Rose Rita and Mrs. Zimmermann face the sorcerer in a tense and dramatic confrontation. Mrs. Zimmermann, drawing upon her rekindled magical abilities, uses the crystal ball to shatter the mirror. The act releases a surge of energy that banishes Stoltzfuss's spirit forever. The chest of Revolutionary War gold, once a source of greed and destruction, is consecrated and buried once more, ensuring it can no longer be used for evil. With the curse lifted, the Weiss family is finally free to live in peace. Rose Rita and Mrs. Zimmermann find themselves transported back to their own time, though the journey leaves a lasting impression on both. Rose Rita emerges from the adventure with a newfound confidence and a deeper appreciation for her own courage and resourcefulness. Mrs. Zimmermann, having faced her fears and reclaimed her magical abilities, rediscovers her sense of purpose and strength. The story concludes on a poignant note, as Rose Rita and Mrs. Zimmermann reflect on the power of friendship, the importance of bravery, and the enduring struggle between good and evil. Their bond, forged through shared trials and triumphs, is stronger than ever, and they return to New Zebedee with a renewed sense of hope and determination.